I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Corky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Ha!
You did it.
Hey. This one's coming at you.
We're all high energy here on whatever day of the week it is currently, because I've lost track at this point.
Well, it's a Tuesday now, but it'll be a Monday for them, probably, if they listen on the day this downloads.
Right, exactly. We're very.
How's it in the future? Y'all doing okay in the future? Everything hunky dory?
Okay.
Is it still a hellfire trashscape?
Yeah, we have at least a 2-week grace period between when we're recording this and when it airs, so you'll be 2 weeks in the future.
Let me know how the future is.
Speaking of folks who love future time travel and is canon on this podcast, it is the incredible Adam Lance Garcia joining us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I would never describe myself as incredible. I mean, sufficient, maybe. That's about it.
Admirable.
No.
Passable?
Passable at least.
Passable,
Sufficient and passable, average at best.
Adam, we're so excited to have you on. I've been a fan of your work for a while, and we're going to get into a little bit of what you do in your day job, how you campaign to become canon in some other universes, and your love of nerdy sci-fi. But first, we're going to talk about the most recent things we've watched. And the most recent thing I watched is something I already talked about on this podcast, so I'm not going to. It is Detective Pikachu, which you can go back to episode 20 to hear how both Rachel and I felt about it. Spoiler alert, we mostly loved it. So I'm actually going to talk about a different kind of media that we don't always talk about on the podcast.
Hooray.
Because...
Break the rules.
Break
them.
rules.
Smash them.
Only because, to me, it felt like a movie, and it's why I enjoyed it, because there are parts of it I didn't. So I recently finished The Last of Us Part 2. If you're not familiar with the game series Last of Us Part 2, or Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2, it takes place in a post-apocalypse. Fungus zombies have taken over, and the sequel more or less picks up right about a few years after the last game. I had put it off when it first came out last year because it came out right towards the beginning of 2020. And
one would say the next of The Last of Us.
Yeah, the next of The Last of Us. And I didn't want to play it when it came out because I had already had enough of 2020 as it was to then play a depressing post-apocalyptic game about a virus. Also was not on my to-do list. But when I got my PS5, humble brag, I got The Last of Us with it.
Wow.
And The Last of Us 2 with it. It was part of the bundle that I had to buy in order to get it because you can't find them on their own anywhere, ever, because they're sold out everywhere.
Says you, I got it straight from Sony by itself, so haha, I win.
I still love my Nintendo Switch.
Hey, I've got that too.
Me too.
They're both great systems.
But when I was playing it, I want to avoid spoilers, I think, just because I think it's still a game that story is worth experiencing if you get a chance to experience. But what's interesting about this story is that, and I had this issue a little bit with the first Last of Us, but I really felt it with this game, is it felt more like a movie to me because the mechanical stuff, the looting things, the combat, the shooter sections, the platforming weren't as interesting as the narrative they're telling. Also, how can I say this without spoiling? There is a chunk of the narrative you're forced into other perspectives other than Ellie in this game, and Ellie is the protagonist. Ellie and Joel are the protagonists in the first game, and it's interesting how they kind of take the control away from the player and make you experience multiple narratives, seeing multiple sides of a story. And I thought it was really fascinating. But I wish the gameplay stuff was more interesting. But also, when they say they want to boil this down to a movie or a short HBO series, I worry because I feel like you need... a TV series might be better, right? Because this is not a 2-hour story. You can't condense either of these games into 2 hours. But, I was emotionally distraught several times playing this game, which I expected. It's why I put it off for as long as I did. but it felt more like the kind of emotion that Rachel, you and I have talked about with a lot of other films and TV shows that we've watched, especially recently, that it hit me in a way, and I was invested in these characters in a way that I would be a TV show more than a game. And that's not saying games can't invest you that way, but it just felt different to me. And I think it's because the narrative control was delivered in a different way. I don't know that either of you have played the Last of Us games.
I haven't. It's a similar sort of thing where I didn't have the last PlayStation I had before the PS5 was PS3, so I wasn't in the market for The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2. And while I've heard a lot similar comments from other people who have played it, that it's an emotional experience. It defies your expectations because it does force you into other perspectives. Yeah, I would have to agree. Like right now I'm playing Spider-Man like nonstop, and it's partially because like I understand the feeling. Like even though we're sort of past a lot of we're past 2020 and we're sort of, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel to a degree. It's like, I don't want to be sad. I don't like it just seems like an intense gaming experience that interests me in a lot of ways, but at the same time doesn't necessarily. It's not an experience I want right now. I just want to be happy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally get that. Before Last of Us, I was playing Miles Morales, and I'd played a few other like Bright and Shiny. I played Maneater, which is a shark RPG. It's the dumbest game ever made, and it was like. But I had come to terms with the fact that I knew I wanted to play this game. I knew no matter when I played it, it was going to make me sad and it was going to be upsetting, like just based on what I knew of the first game. So that's why I buckled in to do it. I'm jumping into Control after this, which is a game that I've played before, but the PS5 version just came out, and I want to play it with the fancy new graphics. But I think I wanted to talk about The Last of Us 2 Part 2 here just because I don't know. I'm actually curious, and I'll pose the question to both of you. Do you guys ever intentionally engage in media, maybe not currently, but at any point gone, I know this is going to F me up, but I want to experience it and go into it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the entire subgenre of, like, the tearjerker.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point. I remember getting stuck in Evansville and not being able to like go to a theme park in New Jersey the next day because my plane was delayed, and just being like, I'm gonna go see Me Before You, and I know I'm gonna cry, and I'm just gonna cry in there, and it's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. And I wept. It was great because like sometimes you just know that you need something to give you that emotional Heimlich.
Same. There's definitely I was talking about this with a few people, that there's definitely movies that I need to be in the right headspace for. Like, not necessarily a movie, but a TV show like Better Call Saul is one of my favorite TV shows. I still haven't finished the most recent season because it's an emotional journey, and I need to sit down and be like, all right, I am in the right headspace to do this. Like, I haven't seen Soul yet. I really want to see Soul yet, but I'm like, I know it's going to probably break me. There's a lot of things like Mank. There's a lot of things that I am looking forward to watching where I'm in the right headspace. I think the most accurate comparison for like a film that I've seen recently that I recently in quotations was and I went in without this expectation, but it definitely was that sort of like emotional experience, was Uncut Gems. That was the most stressful movie I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely adore it because it was such a thrill ride. I did not have a good experience watching it, if that makes sense, but I had a great experience watching it. It was, that was one of those films that I've never had an audience collectively gasp at the end of a movie like I did that, because it's just like the moment ends, like, okay, it's over.
Yeah, I think that why I feel like The Last of Us Part 2 also reminds me of a movie-going experience more is because it fits into the camp of movies that I would never watch again. Like, I'd watch once and be like, I needed to experience this.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, Requiem for a Dream is a big one for me. Like, I've seen it. I love that movie and what it did. I could never watch it again.
That's Parasite for me.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I'm I'm good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Saving Private Ryan.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
And like the Last
Yeah.
of Us series is that as well. Like both of those games I really enjoyed playing and experiencing, but I don't know that I would ever play them again, either of them, just because they're so powerful in a different way that like Naughty Dog's other games like the Uncharted series have powerful moments, but you know, you're playing as Nathan Drake, this goofball adventurer, and even though he has some serious stuff that happens to him, especially in the fourth game, it's just not on the same level of emotional wreckage that The Last of Us puts you through.
I still need to play the fourth game. The third game was the one with the plane, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I still need to play the fourth game, but first. Yeah.
The fourth one is the best game this company has ever made. It's the best
Interesting.
Uncharted game. I loved it. It was incredible.
Nice.
I highly
Good
recommend
to
it.
know.
But yeah, I won't harp on it too much. I think that I'm grateful that I experienced it. I think that if you're someone who can handle horror games and handle visceral violence, like that was the thing that upset me more than I thought it would, is there is a lot of visceral violence in both games, like even to a degree that made me uncomfortable. And I've seen my fair share of gory movies and games, but there was something about this being rooted in realism, and of course the humans are the real monsters kind of a thing is throughout it. It just like there were moments where the brutality was so visceral that like I felt nauseous, like, but it was integral to the storytelling. It didn't feel like torture porn by any means. It was specific story beats. But that said, I think that if you enjoyed the first game, it's definitely worth experiencing. And if you're curious about it, maybe read synopsises or watch the cutscenes. I don't feel like you're missing out too much on not engaging in the combat, which some other video game fans might lose their heads over. But I don't know. I think the story is definitely worth engaging in. And I am curious if they do a HBO series still, because I know that it was like sort of being mentioned last year or something before the shutdown. It would be worth seeing because it is a really well-told story.
I love that.
That absolutely crushed me. Though the ending made me more just kind of like sigh in relief, which I feel like most really dramatic, intense movies, like what Adam was talking about with Uncut Gems, like it rolls credits on the game, and I just kind of, I sat there listening to the music while the credits roll and went,
Well, Matt, that was many words to describe The Last of Us. The next one. The next of The Last
The
of Us.
next of The Last of Us.
The next of The Last of Us. That's the episode title. Different show. If you could take all of those words and distill them into 3, how would you describe The Last of Us Part 2?
I would say heartbreaking, visceral storytelling. Storytelling's one word, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. All right, yeah.
I love it.
There you go.
Well, this will be a world-class pivot.
Excellent.
If you ever wanted to watch something that's pretty much the absolute opposite of The Last of Us Part 2, come along with me on a journey. I've been on a bit of a kick of watching feature-length Japanese animation.
Yay.
I recently watched A Whisker Away, which I've already recommended. Rachel recommends, and I loved it, and so I've sort of had that bug in my sort of like in my mind. So I decided to visit for the first time a Studio Ghibli film, The Secret World of Arrietty.
Ooh, I haven't seen that one.
Which is loosely based off of a novel series called The Borrowers.
Oh, yes. I do remember this.
Right,
now.
right.
Yeah. I think this is the one that came out like right after Spirited Away, and we were all just like riding the high of that, and then this one was just forgotten. And I can see why. It's not particularly like bold. It's definitely no Spirited Away or Porco Rosso or like the top tier. I'd say it's like B tier. And when I say that, I mean it's beautiful to look at, and the story is really nice.
Yeah.
And everybody is like doing such a good job with the voice acting, and it's just like the music and the atmosphere and all of it is just wonderful. But it's like a bee. It's fine. It follows 2 children. One child is a human being, and the other child is what is known as a borrower, which is a tiny little person who lives in the houses of the big people, which they call beans, and they borrow what they need. And the inciting incident of these 2 people who are not supposed to meeting is the borrowers need some sugar. It's great. What wholesome content this
Nice.
one is. I really, really dug it. I think it's worth investigating if you are wanting to try something new that isn't Howl's Moving Castle or Kiki's Delivery Service. Like, give this one a try. You know, don't go in expecting it to blow your mind, but you can live with it and sit with it. And also, the greatest actress in the world is in it, Carol Burnett. So
Yeah.
if that's not enough, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I love Miyazaki's stuff, and I feel like you saying
This one isn't Miyazaki.
oh, Studio Ghibli, but not Miyazaki.
This is just Ghibli. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love everything Studio Ghibli, and like even like B tier Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli movies are still really good. Like, we were talking about movies that I'll only watch once. One of them is a Miyazaki film, which is Grave of the Fireflies. If you've never seen it, watch it. And it's in the vein of the stuff we were talking about before, so be prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite Miyazaki favorite is more like, it's just the one that sticks with me, is it was released on VHS here in the States as Warriors of the Wind, but it's not, oh God, now I can't remember the name of it. The actual name of it. Now I'm going to look at it, and you can edit this out. Like, you can edit out my cat deciding that it wanted to have food in the middle of this. It's like,
well, now I can't, because now people are going to be very confused.
You're referencing it.
oh, that's why I'm very...
He's referencing it during the part you're going to edit out.
I'm
Yeah.
going to edit it out there, and I'm going to put it in right here.
Nausicaa. It was Nausicaa Valley one, and that was only the reason. It's such a interesting world building that they had in that one. That always has stuck with me, and it's like set in the future, but you don't. It's such a cool looking film. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, I've been plowing through all of the Ghibli backlog, and it's all been absolutely delightful. I got to see Pompoko for the first time and saw raccoons use their nut sacks to be parachutes to fight cops.
That's what
great.
I'm sorry. That's normal. That's what
Yeah.
everyone
That's
does.
normal.
That's what
Like,
everyone
whatever.
does.
That
You don't
that's-
use your nutsack, Rachel?
that's-
Jesus.
That's
That's-
what I call a Tuesday. I just never thought I'd see my life reflected so on film.
And considering we're recording it on a Tuesday, on a Tuesday, yes, this is happening right now.
Literally. That's how I always podcast. What are you
I-
talking about?
Obviously. Yeah,
So-
there's actually a new Ghibli movie that just came out called, I think it's Earwig and the Witch, that I haven't watched yet, but I've heard
Yes.
good things about.
It's their first CGI film, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
And just so we are giving credit where credit is due, the director of Secret World of Ariete is Hiromasa Yonbayashi. There you go.
Excellent.
Did it. Credit, because, you know.
Credit where credit's due. So
Yeah.
was this? So you said it's B tier. Would you ever return to this one like some of the others, or do you think this is a one time for you?
I think it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in, because this one you can sort of like be in, but you're not as grossly connected to everything. I think just like there's a difference in the way this story is being told through an Eastern perspective versus a Western, you know, so like
Right.
a lot of those like Western Hollywood assumptions live in my mind. I can't help it. That's the way I was sort of trained to look at media. So like for me, some of the story elements don't really like fully connect.
Right.
And I don't know how much of that is just like a storytelling problem or an adaptation problem or just a pacing barrier problem. So it's pretty breezy and light, and I love breezy and light, so
Yeah.
I'd probably watch it again, if not just fast forwarding to the end, to the Americanized like final song that's like, I'm very pretty, I'm 14 and I live in your floors. It's just, just like,
Exactly.
oh, we can't do these in English. We shouldn't do these in
No.
English.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
But yeah,
Wasn't the Borrowers also adapted as a live action film in the States?
it was.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up because
How's-
I wasn't going to bring it up unprompted. Many changes have been made across adaptations. So the original novel series, the first book follows Arietti Clock, a borrower, and a young boy who doesn't have a name, which is similar to this version that Ghibli made, except the boy in the book version is bilingual, and so Arietti is reading to him, and that's sort of part of the story. And in this one, the boy is named Sean, and he's just like gonna have a heart transplant, so he's just in the country like kicking it where he can stay chill, and they like don't really interact very much. But then the live action Borrowers, which I feel like has nothing to do with the first book of this series, maybe from later series. The Borrowers are a family of 4. They add a younger brother named P. Green. What? And the story is more like Mousetrap, where John Goodman's a lawyer and he's trying to catch the borrowers so he can sell the house.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're all different. So take that how you will. But yeah, I remember the live action Borrowers, and it was nothing like Secret World of Arietti, and that is a great gift for Secret World of Arietti.
Yeah.
I love that it has Tom Felton in it. The live action one. That's hilarious.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Wasn't there a cartoon of the Borrowers also?
that I don't know. My Google wormhole only went live action book series.
No, it's only bringing up the Secret of the... Oh, yeah, there... No, the Littles. I'm thinking of the Littles, which were similar to the Borrowers.
There's also no, this is something different. I thought there was gonna be like there's a Borrower's Christmas. No, it's the Borrowed Christmas from 2014, which is a Hallmark movie, which plausibly what I might have seen. I might have seen for all I know. Interesting. I didn't know that. I feel like there was like it's one of those, maybe it's like a Berenstein sort of thing where we think there was an animated series, but there was an animated movie. Oh nope, animated series. Let's see.
Yeah.
Look at the Google. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm misremembering it or conflating it with another cartoon that had little people.
There was a
in it.
live action TV series on the BBC.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
So this
Wow.
has been adapted many times.
Yeah.
Many times, yeah. Good job, Mary Norton. You made a keeper of a story. Also, before the internet yells at me, Miyazaki did write on this.
Okay.
He did not direct it. He has screenplay credit.
Okay. So he was
For
involved.
it. He was involved
And there was a
in
French
adapting.
animated series.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so it's been adapted quite a few times.
Yeah,
Interesting.
which is interesting because I can't think of what the true canon of this is because all the
evolved
adaptations
beyond it.
I've experienced seem completely disparate,
Yeah.
one from the next.
Well, Rachel,
Yes.
if you had to sum up The Borrowers, or The Secret of Arietti, as it
The
actually
Secret
is.
Life of Arietti.
The Secret Life of Arietti, which is based on The Borrowers, without
Yeah.
using The Secret Life of Arietti in your 3-word description review, how would you review it? What 3 words would you use?
Ugh. This is tough because I feel like I want to make it a joke, but I also want to like get the idea of the atmosphere. Whoo! Tiny kitchen.
Is that it? Who? Tiny Kitchen?
That's it. Whoo! Tiny kitchen.
Curious to see.
Sometimes I really want to get the idea into people's head that they want to check this out.
Right.
And sometimes it's like giving a really good description that you're just like, ooh, yeah, it's like it's heartbreaking and staggering and prolific. And I just want people to watch Arietti to be like, what does she mean by that kitchen? What? Whew, that kitchen.
Okay.
Could mean
love it.
anything.
I
Could
love
mean
it.
a couple things.
I love
That
it.
also, can I just say this is like the most cottagecore Ghibli film I've literally ever seen. It's just like, I want to live in this little house that is underneath the other house I also want to live in, that has a dollhouse that I also want to live in. Stop it.
I never thought of that. There's a genre called cottagecore, but of course there is. Of course there is. Why would I not? Well, like, it's like,
Yeah.
but also
If
I
it
feel
exists,
it's
got a core.
Exactly. But also I wanted you to describe it as like, I'm really into cottagecore, like that little. That's how I heard it in my head.
Listen, nothing makes me more amped than fried, dried lavender
Exactly.
hanging from the walls of my naughty pine cabin.
Well, on that note, why don't we pivot to our incredible guest? Oh, I said it again. Adam,
Yeah.
Adam, what is
Yes.
the most recent thing you have watched?
So it's funny. It's I will say the last year or so has been weird for me in terms of watching things. I haven't really finished anything. I've been trying to get through classic Doctor Who. I've watched a couple of movies here and there. I did watch a bunch of new series Doctor Who with my mom when I was staying with her. But the one thing I have finished recently has been Cobra Kai. And that has been, it is the dumbest show in a very long time, but I also really enjoy it. Like, I have a great time watching it. Like, the first season, I will say, is probably the best season, without a doubt. It's really well written. The characters are really well thought out and built. The universe is really interesting. I love how you enter the story with Johnny, the villain from Cobra Kai. His character, you get to really empathize with him, and then eventually you see Danielson, and he's kind of a dick, but then you understand his perspective. And you are rooting for every different character, so that at the end of the first season, when everything comes to blows, you don't know who to root for because you love everyone.
Right.
The second season is a bit messier. It does kind of come together, and the third season is stronger than the second season, but at the same time, I think it's a lot more heightened. It's a lot more absurd, and part of the enjoyment of it is that they lean into the absurdity. They, there's like a whole sequence in the season where he goes to Japan because he needs to save his company because there was a karate fight at school. And like, if you like just boil it down, like it just seems kind of ridiculous. And he finds himself by meeting his former girlfriend and fighting his former enemy, and it treats everything like it's the most important thing in the world. I've seen some people talk about like, the karate is going to save the soul of LA sort of thing. It's just ridiculous. And there's so many times like I'm watching it and like the plot twists, and I say this with like doing air quotes. I'm like, the plot twist comes in, like a character shows up in the scene, and I'm like, yeah, I know he's going to be there. Yep, there he is. But at the same time, it's executed well enough, and the performances are strong enough, and the writing is strong enough that like, even though you're like, yeah, I saw this coming a mile away, you're like, I'm enjoying this. It's silly. It's fun. It's an interesting it's a really interesting exploration of legacy. It's part of my favorite genre of media. Like, the reason I love the Star Wars sequels, the reason I love Creed and Blade Runner 2049 and a bunch of other films like that, even Logan, is I love legacy stories, like sort of like two generations sort of experiencing things. I think that's really fascinating, and it's done very, very well in Cobra Kai. But with that said, it's absurd. It's like a soap opera. Like, it is a soap opera, and it's one of those things where I watch it with my brain kind of turned off. You're like, if I can't take, like, I take it seriously, but also I don't take it seriously. It's like, it's an interesting show to watch. And, I'm rolling my eyes at it half the time in the third season, because it just gets so absurd and so ridiculous and so over the top and so self-important, but at the same time completely aware that it's doing this, and it's like, do not take us seriously. We're not taking this seriously. Like, we're taking it seriously, but we're not taking it seriously. It's
we were created to get you to subscribe to YouTube Red.
exactly.
Here we are.
Yeah. Were the first 2 seasons on YouTube Red, and then the third one brought it to Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everything is on Netflix. Right?
Everything's
All
on
3
Netflix
seasons?
now. Yeah. I mean, look, it's really a fun watch. Like, it is good. You're smiling throughout it, like, because it's like, again, it's just at times heartwarming, at times very, like, it is a well done show, but like, is it anything like other prestige TV shows where you're like, wow, this is making me think? It's like, no, it's dumb. It's delightfully dumb, and I've seen it weirdly compared to, like, some people like, I wish the Star Wars sequels were as good as Cobra Kai. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't want that. You don't want that. Like, do you really want like everything to be this heightened all the time forever? No one wants that. It's silly. It's just it's a good continuation of a 80s property that if you told me when I first heard about it, I was like, there's no way this is a good idea. This is a bad idea. No one wants this. Who wants this?
Yeah.
No one. Like the Karate Kid fan base is all of like 2 people, and one of them is Ralph Macchio. Like, no one wants this. Like, and so here we are, and I'm like, watching. I'm like, this is great. I recommend it to people. But like I always say, like, don't take it too seriously. Just it's a ton of fun. But it's a very, I'll put it this way. It reminds me of Stranger Things in that it gives you the feeling of watching an 80s movie. It gives you the feeling of watching an 80s series, but not necessarily doing the things that were done in an 80s movie. I think what's interesting about Stranger Things, for example, is that it's a distillation of all the things that you loved about 80s movies, all in one story, but treated in a way, in a modern, told in a modern story way, using modern storytelling techniques. And I think it's a lot more sophisticated than a lot of the films that we grew up watching. In the same sense, Cobra Kai, it gives you the sort of endorphins you get when you watch an 80s kids movie, an 80s action movie. It's absurd, it's over the top, it's fun, but it's now in serialized format as opposed to just one movie.
I've been interested in it for a while. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but I've been wanting to watch it. I'm curious, since you finished it, does it look like we're gonna get a 4th season?
Oh yeah. The where it ends up, and like, it's what's interesting. One thing that is slightly frustrating is where they end up at the end of 3rd season is kind of where they've always been heading, but it feels like they tread a little water on certain characters for an extended period of time. It's something that sort of I almost think should have happened at the end of season 2. And that's sort of like my biggest issue with season 2. It's like a lot of stuff happens. You're like, we didn't need all this storyline. Like, it all does come together. It all comes together in a really good way. But it's like the 2nd season's like 8 episodes of sort of like getting everything to kind of get into sync for the 9th and 10th episode. And I think it is not as efficient storytelling as it could be. So when at the end of season 3, you're like, yep, this is where we're heading. I saw it from the you can see it from the end of season 1. You're just kind of wishing that they got in there a little bit sooner.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they tee up season 4. It's like, yeah, we know where this is going. So, yeah.
That's awesome. How long are the episodes? Are they 30
minutes?
Oh,
like 30 minutes, which I've come to really appreciate. Like 30 minutes uncut, like with like the Mandalorian and WandaVision and all that. Just like 30 minutes in and out. Great.
In and out. Love it.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, very cool. I definitely think I had heard, my brother's been watching it, and like I'd heard good things. And honestly, if it's as goofy and surreal, especially in the 3rd season as you're saying it is, it might be the perfect kind of palate cleanser from the more dramatic stuff. Especially since the show I've been watching with my spouse. We're making our way through The West Wing, which I'd never seen, and she's on the ride with me because she loved. And then the other show we're watching together right now, since The Expanse is done for this season, is WandaVision, and that's like ramping up to something.
Yeah.
So I know while it's been fluffy to a degree up to this point, that's
Yeah.
probably going away in the next few episodes. I
Yeah.
have a feeling we're headed in a direction out of that. So it'd be nice to pick up something that's a little goofier.
Yeah, and I need to watch The Expanse. I read the first book, and I tried getting into the season, this first show, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't grabbing me. If I wasn't like at the right time or whatever, but everyone talks about how great it is, and it's like I'm like, I know it's kind of like made for me, but like, yeah, there's certain elements from the book that I think transfers to the novel that I was like, like it was the book was this, and I don't want to spoil anything for someone who hasn't watched the series or read the book.
Which is me.
Yeah, exactly. There's a thing that happens in the book about half of the way through or 3/4 of the way through. I can't remember exactly when it happens, but it took what I was really enjoying about the book and then turned it into something else. I'm like, oh, but I've seen this before, and yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how that's done in the show. But that honestly, like, that kind of killed it for me because I'm like, I've seen this before, and I was really enjoying this sort of new world. But I mean, I could be wrong. Everyone says how great it is. I got the second book. I'll read it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
I mean, for me, it was mostly I hadn't read the books, and I love the actors in it. I've fallen in love with all of them. Still a little mind blown that the lead playing Holden was in Sky High and played the angsty kid in Sky High. Like, when someone broke that Matrix code in an interview with him recently, I was like, oh my God, they're the same person. But no, I like it. It's space politics. It's science fiction that's not about the action and the fighting, which a lot of science fiction recently has boiled down to. Even Star Wars, which I love, a lot of, especially the movies, have boiled down to that. The Mandalorian took more care for storytelling. And so, like, I've enjoyed I've enjoyed The Expanse mostly because it's intrigue and politics, with some action. But anyway, Adam, if you had to sum up Cobra Kai with just 3 words, and you can't use the word Cobra or Kai, what 3 words would you use to review this series?
I'm gonna cheat with 4, and you'll see why. It's Hallmark movies with kicking.
Hallmark movies with kicking.
You know what? I'm going to say the with is just a W /
Slash,
not a
yeah.
word.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Hey, Case, that's the punctuation on this. Case, you're listening? Hey, Case. You can put the period after the W, okay?
Like,
That's
as someone who watches, my girlfriend loves Hallmark movies, and we watch a lot of them, and there's a lot of elements in watching Cobra Kai. I'm like, this is a Hallmark movie, but for men. You know, it's a Hallmark movie. Yeah.
I was going to ask. I was like, from its aesthetics, it looks like 90s Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
It kind of
does. And from story, it sounds like a Hallmark movie. So it's like Hallmark Power Rangers. There you go.
100% an accurate statement. Yeah, like sometimes, like, that's another
I haven't watched a single episode. It's just the vibe I get.
There's certain certain things about the way it's shot that's a little like, it feels very not low budget, but you're just like, you didn't spend money on this. You spent money on something else. You're like on this massive cast that you built instead of, but like there's like this one scene. I'll put it this way, like there's one scene in this last episode, like the second last episode of the 3rd season, where these 2 characters team up, and it's so satisfying. And they're both Doctor Who fans, and I was like, yeah, like, the Whovians are teaming up.
Nice.
Little things like that, where it's like really sweet and endearing. But yeah, I say this without any. Again, I'll repeat it, but like I say without any. In not the prerogative sense, it is a Hallmark movie with kicking. It is in all the best ways a Hallmark movie with kicking.
I love it.
I love that. That's great. So, for the interview portion, Adam, I have one very important question to ask you.
Yes.
As a Who fan, I have
of course.
know.
Yes.
Who is your favorite Doctor?
That is a challenging question. I want to say Matt Smith. Okay. But at the same time, I also want to say David Tennant. But also, when you start taking into account Big Finish, I'm I love Paul McGann's Doctor a lot, and then I also really love the Sixth Doctor, especially as portrayed in Big Finish, because there's this heartbreaking sadness in his portrayal that's really endearing. I also love the 12th Doctor for a lot of reasons, and I can seriously adore. I like Jodie Whittaker as a human, so that's she's kind of high up there. But those are.
So half the doctors are your favorite doctors,
Yeah,
what you're saying.
Well, it's one of those things where like I joke about this, but it's not unserious that my favorite Doctor is the one that I am listening to or the one that I'm watching. There are ones that I will definitely gravitate towards. I definitely will like a David Tennant thing comes up, I will watch it right away or listen to it right away. His enthusiasm for the role still is there to this day. I loved Matt Smith's sort of like old man in a young man's body aesthetic, and I love that era, especially that fifth season. And but like when Paul McGann does things, he was my first Doctor because I saw the very first episode when he premiered, and so he's the first one I ever saw. There's something romantic in the classical sense, like he's a romantic character, and it's sort of, and I said this on somewhere else recently, but like I love that because his era is on audio and we've only seen the beginning and the end visually, there's all this unseen room in between there where you're like, you get all these different eras, and since it's all kind of going towards the time war, there's something beautifully tragic about that. So yeah, I know that's not the answer you wanted, but I spend so much time with the Doctors. I'll put it this way. So someone asked, I got a chance to interview Colin Baker, Peter Davison, and Sophie Aldred a few years back. And someone asked me, who was your, and then I also at the same time, I got to interview Missy, Michelle Gomez, and Pearl Mackie. And afterwards, like, who's your favorite to interview, like, between the two? And I said, honestly, Colin Baker, Peter Davison, and Sophie Aldred, because I spend more time with them. And that is because I listen to all the Big Finish audio dramas. So I that's sort of the thing. It's like I spend so much time with a lot of the classic Doctors, and David Tennant, especially because he's doing Big Finish. You know, but like I fell in love with the show because of Matt Smith and David Tennant. So I have no good answer. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine.
It's a rambling answer. I just like Doctor Who. I'm very uncritical about it in a way where it's just like, even the stuff that I can honestly look at you in the eyes, like, this is not a good episode, I still had a great time. You know, I could look at things where there's like certain, like a lot of like the Capaldi's run where I'm like, this isn't great. Like, I love him. He's great. I wish his writing was stronger. I wish Jodie Whittaker's writing was stronger. But I'm having a great time because their Doctor's here. So it's, I just, yeah. It's hard for me to justify which ones. I can tell you which ones I really don't love. I can give you an inverse answer. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the first Doctor because I feel like he's just so acerbic, and the show hadn't really found its voice yet. And I think I've never really gotten into Peter Davison's Doctor. I've just, that era just never really clicked with me. Would normally put the third Doctor down there as well, but because I watched his era recently and the Big Finish audio dramas are so strong, I've really come to really appreciate his era, and he's endeared himself to me. So yes, that is my answer. I just like Dr.
You don't have one. That's fine.
This was a delight to watch you talk yourself out of it in real time.
It was,
just
it
to be
was
like,
good.
I didn't really, but you know what? It was kind of, yeah. I think we and the listeners understand exactly how you feel now because we just watched it happen. It's great. There are no wrong answers on Screen Snark, and honestly, that was the best answer that ever could have been given.
It was good.
Because it wasn't just like, oh yeah, Matt Smith.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was. Yeah.
Enjoy that, everyone. I know I did.
Since I've talked about every other Doctor, I haven't. The only one I haven't mentioned in this ramble was Tom Baker and Sylvester McCoy. I mean, Tom Baker, you watch his stuff and you're like, oh, that's why he became famous. That's why he was the Doctor. That's why so many people consider him the Doctor. He's so endearing instantly. And just he's just so charming. He comes in, he's like, hello, like, the other one that's really interesting.
Hi, let me offer you candy.
Exactly. Oh God, I've gotten so addicted to jelly babies. I love them. They taste so weird. But then there's Sylvester McCoy. What I really love about his Doctor, and this is something that I've gotten to really recently, is the Virgin New Adventures, which are these novels that came. I'm not sure for the listener, if you guys don't know, they're novels that came out in the 90s after the show went off the air and before it came back, and they're just so weird. And it's all Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, and you get this really, 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 really weird, uncomfortably adult era where you're like, oh, these people are having sex. Oh, that is a description of a nipple. Oh, why is the Doctor and Ace and this sex slave hiding in a room, and why are Ace and the sex slave making sex sounds? Oh my God, this isn't a book. This isn't the first book, Time Worm Genesis. And there's so much about his era that is just absurd and weird, and it's a delight. And not every book is good. And you're like, this is just bad, but it's bad in a really, like, there's one I read recently called Deceit. I'm like, this is not good in any way possible. I'm having a great time because who got this published? Why would they let this get published? So yeah. Now that I've covered everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, of course. No, it's funny. I always ask that question because I have a definitive answer. But that said, I've loved every Doctor since the 9th Doctor. But Eccleston was my first, and so he's been my favorite for a long time.
Yeah. Are you going to get the Big Finish stuff he's doing?
I want to. I haven't dove in yet, but I would like to. But yeah, I think that what's really magical about Doctor Who is what you said. When you're with the Doctor, that's your Doctor, right? Like, and they designed the show to be that way. And I love Jodie, and even though I don't think all of her episodes were strong, I feel like she's had the strongest ensemble in a long time. I really love her companions. I love the stories that they tell with the companions. They don't just make the companions useless without the Doctor, which is not every companion. But like, I like how those stories have grown together. I'm curious to see how the show continues now that, you know, they're making changes and stuff. So we'll see. But like, I like Jodie's personality. She's so bright and so good. Like when she's doing like promo videos for kids or talking, like, you know, being support, like I feel the warmth from that character.
I will say, like, and I've said this, I'll say this anytime someone talks about her, like, she really cared about the role. Like, I know how hard she fought to get into this role. And I also, and speaking with her, it was really surreal. So I've done 2 videos with her in the last couple of years. One was sort of like a sit-down interview, which was surreal. And the other one was I did 2 videos with her and the cast. One was a tech support, sort of answering Doctor Who questions on Twitter. Another one was sort of explaining the show. And every so often I have a chance to sort of talk to her in between. And like, look, I'm geeking out inside. Like, I'm directing the Doctor. Like, holy crap, I'm directing the Doctor and the companions and what is happening. But she, like, you know, I was there to be like, look, my job is to make you look good. Like, my job is to make sure that you know all the information. Like, I'm here because I'm a Whovian. I will feed you information if you need it. And so she didn't necessarily know all the factoids about Doctor Who, but she understood what Doctor Who meant. And one of my most endearing conversations I had with her was talking about how she didn't watch any of the other Doctors. She'd watched a couple of episodes and got really of like David Tennant or someone else. Like, can't remember who. And she got really in her head and went to Chip and was like, "Am I doing this wrong? Am I doing it wrong?" And Chip was like, "No, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing. Like, you know, do your Doctor. Like, that's the thing." And I'm like, and I said to her, like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's the thing about Doctor Who. Like, every actor brings something new. You know, you're doing this. Capaldi was doing that. Matt Smith was doing this, and David Tennant was like a swashbuckling hero. She grabbed my wrist, and she's like, "That's exactly what he was," and it was really endearing. And like she talked to me about how she designed her costume, and I wish I remembered everything she said, but it's like little things where like what the stripes mean against across her chest, the inside of her shirt, of her jacket, the color because it's blue because she fell through the sky, like little things like that. The thought that she put into it is, you want that from an actor like that. And she just was kind to everyone on set, thanked everybody, knew all their names by the end of the shoot. Absolute sweetheart. I will fight to death for that woman. So
amazing. I love that.
While we're on the Whovian track, I do have a thought I would like to posit.
Sure.
It's one of my favorite discussion points about doctors in the plural. What are your thoughts on I don't think it's in the text at all, but like the particular read of the Doctor that each regeneration is the representation of something that the Doctor previous wished to be. Like you had the Eccleston into the Tennant who was a little more fancy free, a little more wild and willing to like go there. Then you have the Matt Smith sort of like pulling it back in, like maybe we were a little too human, we fell in love. What the hell? Let's not. Just this like iteration and literal regeneration into like how do I grow to become the next better version? Not like I'm better, but like these tiny market improvements. A sort of one for all, if you will.
I've sort of subscribed to something like that where I feel like it is a subconscious thing of like a commentary on what came before, like not necessarily because that's not really thought out. I mean, especially the way the show changes hands as frequently as it does, as long as it is. But there is an interesting commentary that occurs that you can be read into using the text of the show, where there's even like with Capaldi to Jodie Whittaker, where he says like the master says like, "Is this what the future is? Oh, girl," and he's like, "One can only hope." And then the next thing he does is he becomes a woman. Similarly, I think to your point, like there's this. In Eccleston, there's this crushing sense of mourning and PTSD, and that he tries to hide it in Tennant. And, Tennant kind of goes through all this, and you sort of see the anger in him, and he becomes, yes, to your point, more aloof. So, yes, I do think it's in there. I don't necessarily. I know that it's not necessarily a conscious thing. There's no way it's a conscious thing.
And it's a question of how much is this informed by the machinations and the forward movement of us, the creators and the viewers,
right?
Versus how much of this is like just designed or like you're reading what you will in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to put it. I've always loved looking for also when a new Doctor starts, looking for the old Doctor. And I really love watching Matt Smith's first episode and even and Peter Capaldi's first episode as well, because you can see them tweaking. Like they're clearly, like those two specifically took very tiny bit of the previous Doctor in that transformation sequence. Like even especially with Matt Smith when he's trying to figure out what to wear, like a lot of his movements felt very, very much pulled from the previous Doctor, or even Capaldi, and then like Capaldi even bouncing so hard the other way, becoming one of probably my second favorite Doctor, because I've learned I like cranky doctors. But then even finding the Matt Smith of it all in the last season, where he walked around with a guitar and wore a starry T-shirt and was like way looser and kind of aloof than he had been before. Like, it's fun to see those evolutions that I think just come naturally from trying to figure out who you are as an actor and as that character that has such a legacy.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think it's also interesting to seeing how the Doctors themselves evolve over the course of their run. I think is really, especially with Matt Smith and Capaldi, especially, I felt like they became more like the actors than than like the characters are like diverging away. I feel like they start off and like, how do I become the Doctor, and then the Doctor sort of like becomes more like the person. I think that was a big thing with Capaldi, and I think that's why his last season is strongest, at least because he's just, or the last 2 seasons, like the moment he gets the guitar, it's like, oh yeah, he's a retired rocker. That's who he is, and I think that's where he gets his. That's where he starts feeling more like the Doctor, and as opposed to what the idea of the Doctor is.
Yeah, totally. I totally see that. Well, now that we've had a whole half-hour conversation about Doctor Who, I feel like our job is done. No, I'm kidding. I actually wanted to go back and talk, because you were talking about your video production and directing. I would love to know what that's been like, especially as a nerdy person trying to explore what you love, but also exploring what, working with Condé Nast and working for these specific outlets. Like, how has that been? What have you learned about your own nerdery? Have you discovered nerdiness about things that you might not have initially been nerdy about, but through meeting these people?
Well, I'll start off by saying that I am incredibly lucky to have the job that I have. It is something that I've worked very hard to get, and it's sort of a position that I've sort of crafted for myself. And by that, I mean, it's not like I went into a room and like, this is my job now. It's more that I was able to, over the course of really decades at this point, prove what I'm good at, and market myself within the companies I've worked for, and like, look, this is what I'm good at. This is why I'm good at it. And then use that to help me to the next stage, to the next stage, to the next stage, because like, look, I did work was not good at for a very long time. Like, I was a producer at MSNBC, and I am not good at politics. I'm interested in politics. I am not a news producer, but it helped me sort of refine what I am. What I've learned about my nerdery is that I find, as much as I love the minutia and sort of the discussing canon and discussing lore, which is a word I've come to really despise because of Twitter. As much as I love exploring the worlds of these creations, I love, like, with Mandalorian having all these cameos and connections, Doctor Who having all these cameos, connections, things like that, like in Star Trek, etc. I think I've become more enamored by the creative process and sort of understanding how A becomes B and how B becomes Z and how Z becomes _5. I think one thing that I did in the lead up to Rise of Skywalker, when I was working at Yahoo Entertainment, I read all of the making of books of the original trilogy, of the original Star Wars trilogy, and I learned so much about how Lucas and company created Star Wars. And then I went further and I was like learning about the West End books and how those help define what we know as Star Wars. Where all that canon and lore that we know of, where does it come from? That's a big part of it, where my fandom, my nerdery is now like, I understand what goes into these things, and I really do want to learn how those things are done. Similarly, I've also gotten to know a lot of the people who make these things, and I've come to know them as people, and learning about what their methodologies are, why they make the things they make, why they want to say the things they want to do, and their excitement, allows me to sort of look at a film that I don't necessarily love, like The Rise of Skywalker, but understand that it was made probably with the best intentions in mind. And also look at things that I really love, like The Last Jedi, and say, like, I understand why Ryan Johnson would make certain choices that won't work for everyone, but I understand the thinking behind it, and I can argue. I can't argue both sides on this one because I disagree with a lot of what the other side says when it comes to The Last Jedi, but I can understand why it doesn't resonate with other people. So it's just made me more appreciative of content, and it's made me be able to both turn my brain off, like in the case of like Doctor Who, like I'm just having a great time, and then to other aspects, like I be able to look at things critically and not in hopefully not a toxic way, which is something that I see a lot of with every fandom. It's like, well, I don't like this thing, so clearly it must be a conspiracy theory, and clearly like this is why. It's like, well, no, it's just it didn't work for you. Like I can tell you why it didn't work, and I'm also more forgiving of certain things because I'd rather see someone try. I'd rather see someone try and fail because they tried. So, yeah. I think that answers your question.
Yes, sure. I also what I really love about watching some of the stuff that you've made is like I can see, just getting to know you through Twitter, I get a sense of your sensibility and the kind of nerd you are, and I see that through your work. Has there anything you've done that you've like learned skills that you were surprised, like when directing different people or producing certain stuff? Has something like jumped at you like, oh my god, how did I learn this? Like where, like skills that kind of just jump out at you?
I always kind of point to editing. What happened, a big thing that happened in my career was right after I left MSNBC, I was looking for work, and a friend of mine reached out like, hey, do you want to work at Yahoo Entertainment? We need an editor. And I followed the Ghostbusters rule. Someone asked me if you ask if you were God, you say yes.
Right.
He said, can you edit? And I said yes. And then I learned how to edit over a weekend.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I had learned a little bit of it when I was in college because I went to film school. So like it was there, but I hadn't used Adobe Premiere. I've never used Adobe Premiere before then. And I was like, I learned over a weekend. A friend of mine helped me. And over the course of my time at Yahoo Entertainment, I became a much stronger editor, and something that really helped me understand storytelling, and it helped me as a producer and a writer, because I can go onto set now and say to my actors or talent, no, they're not my actors, my talent, my camera guy, my sound guy, I'm like, look, this is what I need. If I get anything, I know exactly what I need to do to make this video work. Tell me, do this, and like I can put it together. And at the same time, I can sit down like, I didn't get this. I know how to make that work. It's allowed me a lot to, it just helped me become a better visual storyteller.
I love that. That's awesome.
Editing, it's very powerful.
It's incredibly powerful.
When it is done well, you don't notice. When it's done not well, you notice.
Oh yeah,
everything. Ugh, I love it. I'm so glad. Thank you, editing.
Thank you, editing.
It is amazing. Like there's things that you don't realize how much were made by edit. The other thing I will say is audio quality. Like no one realizes this. Is to your point. Like when editing's bad, you notice. When editing's good, you don't notice it. With sound, the same thing. Like when I always talk about, well, especially now doing a lot of videos remotely via Zoom and being shot on iPhones and shit like that. I tell them like, look, it does matter how bad it looks, because like it looks really bad, they'll note it. It's just this level, but at the same time, it's like if it looks okay and it sounds amazing, people are more forgiving. People are more forgiving if of good sound quality. If it sounds good, they're fine. Like, but if you watch a video on YouTube with really bad sound, like no matter how good it's shot, you're like, no, skip.
Yeah, that's you're speaking to podcasters.
Yeah.
It's a thing though. I was so excited about Joe McHale and Ken Jeong doing a community podcast, and I was like, this is the content I crave.
Yeah.
This is all I want. Two very funny humans talking very funnily about a funny show that I really, really liked, and I turned it on, and it sounded like a Zoom call recorded, and I did not finish it.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's an insurmountable barrier.
it is. Yeah, and that tracks with some. Anyway, I'll say that for later. That tracks.
I'm the same way. I always thought it was because I was just an audiophile because I've worked on so many podcasts and I'm deeply nerdy about music and sound. But I think it's just audio for me is more disconcerting when it's not good than video. Like I'll watch a poorly I watch a lot of streamers, and if the video quality drops for whatever reason, if I can still hear the streamer and hear the game fine, I don't really care, But
And that's across the board. I had a real bad latency issue on a stream a bit ago, and no one said anything. And it was just like, we were doing the whole thing, and I looked over and I was like, that looks like trash. But like the moment it sounds like the audio's out, everyone's like, hey, is everything okay? Are we crashing? Like it's that's what a global vibe we have.
Exactly. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Adam, is something that I've loved about being able to interact with you on Twitter is you seem to have such joy in what you do and being on that app. You get frustrated like anybody else does.
Oh, yeah.
But you seem pretty joyous. Is that something you've had to learn, especially over the last few years? Because I feel like for me with engaging in nerd culture, you said you hate what was the word you hate? Lore. You said you hate the word lore. Yeah. I feel like Twitter has made me hate the word fandom.
Yeah, me too.
Because I just feel like it has a negative connotation now because of how the extremes they go. Is this something like you've kind of just learned to cope with being online?
No, it's something I've learned over the course of my life. I am a huge nerd. I like to pretend that, I like to imagine that, if I walk in a room, oh, that guy's not nerdy. He looks pretty cool. I know I'm nerdy. I know what I know, my entire life that I love Star Wars. My dad raised me in comic books. The things that are very popular now were sort of made fun of a lot. And I was not necessarily bullied a lot in high school and junior high school, but I was an outsider. Mm-hmm. I was very much judged for liking Star Wars so much. Lord knows I got enough shit for liking the prequels. Mm-hmm. I really got a lot of just flack my entire life for liking the things I liked, and I made a determination very early on to just enjoy it, to just celebrate it. It's well, you don't get to enjoy this cool thing I enjoy. And look, that's not to say that I don't get frustrated, as you pointed out. I do get frustrated. I do get angry at times, I think, because I'm human and not a robot. Right. Unless I'm lying.
Oh no!
Oh no! Quick! Someone ask a logical fallacy question. Adam, what is love? I don't know.
Love is chemicals.
If a tree falls down in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? I don't know how to interrogate a robot. Help.
No, so I try very hard to put the energy that I want in the universe out. And look, I think 2020 was an interesting year because for everyone, for so many reasons, all the reasons that were really frustrating and scary and bad. But I remember talking to someone about it, and I was I'm just angry all the time. I'm angry all the time. And that's not a great emotion to put out into the world. It's something that I try to. The thing is, anger is easy. Mm-hmm. It is an easy emotion to get. Joy is harder. Mm-hmm. Love is harder. I just. It means a lot to me that you said that. I'm not going to lie, because it is very much the energy that I want to put out, because the world is a dark and scary place. Mm-hmm. but it can be better if we make it better. You know, I say this a lot about the reason why I love Doctor Who is it's because it's about hope, and it's because it's about being kind, and it's about being believing that humans, despite their flaws, are beautiful and they can be better. And I so desperately want to believe that, and I so desperately want to try to put that out into the universe, even if it's something about as dumb as whether or not we are one day closer to Star Wars Rogue Squadron, whether or not, like, you know, there's a new movie coming out or new book coming out. Yeah, I've always been a very happy person. I remember I remember an ex-girlfriend from years ago. It's like, you always look like you're smiling, and I was just like, there's always something to be happy about. You know, there's always something to be thankful for, and yeah. So I do remember getting very, 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 very frustrated a few years ago with the fandom and just the toxicity around it, and I definitely got drawn into it for a while. Just being angry and fighting, and it's one of the reasons I'm not on Facebook much anymore. So I don't want to fight with people. And I just remember, like, once when a big sort of tipping point for me was I was up for something called the Brown Noser Awards by this troll of the fandom menace, and it was there to make fun of me because I like a Star Wars movie. Like, let's put this, like, he's spending an entire thing to mock people for enjoying Star Wars. So I leaned into it, and I'm like, I just want to win this award for liking Star Wars. I've liked Star Wars since I was a kid, and it really my favorite moment was one of the trolls in that on it's like, it's not fun when they enjoy it. And
yeah.
That was like, I think that just said everything I wanted it to say. It's like I felt at that point, like, how do you defeat something, this toxicity? You just stay positive. And it's because it's the same thing with the bullies in high school, who would sit there and say, you know, like, how dare you like this thing? How dare you be the way you are? And this is true for everybody. This is true for whether you like a film or a book, or whether you are gay or transgender or what have you. Like, the way you defeat someone who is negative about your existence is to love that you are existing.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Adam. I'm glad I asked. Like, what I love about Twitter, which can be a cesspool like any other social media.
Oh, it is. Let's be honest. It's a cesspool.
Yeah, but you know what? We also love our toilets. They serve a very important function.
Exactly. But, like,
might be full of shit. It's fine.
But, like,
A-okay in my book.
But, like, for me, the way I enjoy Twitter is if I can, you know, if I and friends and colleagues can take the piss out of each other and have a good time doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's some of my favorite stuff. And what endeared me to you on Twitter is that, talking about our very good friend Patrick H. Willems, like, the minute you started
our secret silent co-host.
Secret silent co-host.
Our ghost co-host.
Our ghost co-host. But, like,
Patrick's a ghost here. He's been here the whole time.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you had, like, hide non-video participants. It's like, hey, motherfucker!
But, like,
jeez.
You and him going back and forth, and then me jumping in, it helps that I knew him. But, like, the fact that you both play along, like, I love that kind of stuff. Like, the kind of jest and fun, and, like, or like, even when you started your TikTok and we were both talking about Patrick to join TikTok, and it's like, absolutely not. Like, the
the
Rachel
TikTok
just gave me a look.
The TikTok was definitely one of those things where I'm like, I was doing it because I was like, I had nothing to do, and I was like, I realized very quickly I was an old, and I was like, I understand what's going on, I appreciate what's going on. There are certain people that I'm like, I felt like, you're really good at this, but the amount of work I had to put into, like, a video to get like 100 likes, I'm like, do I really want to spend my time on this? It's
Right.
sucking out my time. I could be reading a book. Like, that was, I just, again, but mostly because I felt like I was an old, like, I'm like, hey there, kids, how you doing?
How are you
Wanna
doing,
go
fellow kids?
Yeah, exactly. You want to go skateboarding? That's what you kids do today, right? All your MP3s on your Walkmans.
But I do genuinely enjoy your Twitter presence. So thank you for bringing that line to Twitter. I appreciate
thank you.
it.
And I'm glad that you are engaged in the Patrick H. Willems Make Adam Canon narrative. I don't know what's going on with it. It's escalated recently. I'm not like. So it's funny because people have asked me, a couple of people have asked me about this, like on both privately and on podcasts, and like, what the hell is this? so for the listeners who don't know, Patrick H. Willems, who is the secret silent co-host of this podcast, as we've established,
Apparently. He's haunting this. Don't tell him though.
I won't.
He doesn't know.
It'll be our secret.
He and I became friends a few years back. When I gave him Hulk Hand's first plot hole video because he tweeted out, because I followed him stuff because I really love his videos, and he tweeted out, I need to buy, I wonder how much like Hulk Hands will be, and I had them in my office because my job is dumb. I have dumb things in my office. Like, let me just be honest, like, my job is dumb. Like, I will never, I like, especially during a pandemic and like everyone's like freaking out on like stuff like, look, we're making movies, but we're making videos about movies. I can't take this seriously. I mean, I take it seriously, but I can't take it seriously. So I gave him a Hulk Hands. He's like, how can I pay you back? We had some beers. We remained friends ever since. And we just gave a start for whatever reason. I can't remember exactly how it started. Like, we would give each other shit on Twitter. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then we'd like hang out and like, or text, or like, it'd be nothing. Like, we just talk about movies and like laugh about how stupid like our Twitter feuds are. And for whatever reason, I do not remember when, I pivoted from being like, let me be an antagonist, to being like a very good friend. I would take photos with him and like as if I'm stalking him. My girlfriend once stole my phone and texted me. She's like, why is my boyfriend so obsessed with you ejecting him? And like, I'm like, and then it became this thing where we just feed back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, now that I'm trying to make Adam Canon because I just want to be in a video. Mind you, like, I actually helped him produce a video once. So it's like,
Right.
so it's not like, it's weird. I don't know how to describe it. I do actually. It's a writing experiment. It's a writing, more than anything else. It's an experiment in how we can tell a story almost completely via conversation on Twitter. That's actually now like breaking fourth walls, and it's people are becoming aware of it. There's a podcast that came out the day of this recording where it's like, make Adam Canon, little things like that, which are a blast. And he might be getting a package tomorrow with cookies that says make Adam Canon.
I love it.
Not expecting it, and I'm so excited. And it's really funny because he soft blocked me on Twitter just to fuck with my head, and I'm like, why did I stop following? He's like, you noticed. And it's like, now you're getting like cookies from a stranger that just says make Adam Canon. I don't know. It just makes me laugh, and especially during 2020, like when shit just got real, and I was living with my parents for a little while because it was safe for me to stay out there, and I was like bummed, and I was like, this stupid thing brings me joy. It's so stupid. And my mom was like, ever so often, like, are you actually really good friends? And I'm like, no, we're very good friends. Like, we're actually friends. Like, what are you doing? Why are you pretending to fall downstairs? And I was like,
I remember that video. It was so good.
Because he said, like, because in the Twitter thread, he's like, I'm like, I forget exactly what it was like. He's like, throw yourself down the stairs. So I figured, I just took my phone and like ran down the stairs doing this, and then like rolled in this. I did it 2 takes, and it's just like, my mom's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it makes me laugh.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's
all
fine.
fine here.
It's
We're
okay.
LARPing. It's cool.
It's LARPing. Yeah. I try to explain to my girlfriend sometimes, explain to my parents, and everyone looks at me like confused. And he's like, Patrick is just like, yeah, I don't explain it to anybody. How do I explain any of this stupid shit that I do? So it's just dumb. It's so much fun. Some of the shit I just do just to piss him off and see how he reacts, and it's like, like we did one. The biggest thing I did recently was I did a video with Todd Vazeri, the VFX artist, and at the end of the video, we I'm like, look, this is for, you know who Patrick is. This is just private. Like, we're not going to post this on YouTube or anything like that. But, like, can you do this? And he's like, Adelance Garcia asked, isn't it about time that Patrick H. Willems makes Adam canon? And he looks at the camera and is like, yes, he absolutely should. Like, yes, emphatically yes. And I sent it to I sent it to Patrick without any warning, and he's like, what the fuck is happening? It's so much fun.
This is why my co-hosts show up to my other show slightly broken and obsessed with sock eating. You have done this.
Oh yeah, the sock eating. I wasn't gonna bring that up, but
The sock eating?
Scott keeps threatening to eat a sock for reasons.
Okay. I don't advise it, but hey, man, you do you.
Yeah, Rachel, you get genuinely upset
This is the vibe. This is what 2020 has wrought for everyone. We're all just real fucking weird now.
It's true.
No, see, I think
It's fine.
I will say though, like I'm always really fucking weird, but now I get to do it publicly, and that's kind of
Right.
great.
Yeah. And we're all, it's cool. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, you listening? Hey, you're going to be a little weird.
Yeah, it's okay.
When all this is done, that's fine. Listen to us. What are we doing?
Right.
We're antagonizing our friends on the internet and threatening to eat socks. It's cool.
It's cool.
Whatever. It's fine.
It's fine.
Some of us
Fine.
baked bread. It's cool.
It's cool. We're fine.
You're
We're all
valid.
fine
You're
here.
fine. It's great. Don't worry about it. Okay?
I needed
my
a good
pep
laugh.
talk.
Your pep talk
There you
for the
go.
listener.
For
Adam,
the listen, anyone who's listening to this, present company included.
exactly.
We're weird. It's fine.
Adam, thank you
Don't
so much.
worry about it.
I'll eventually finish the sentence. It's fine, Rachel.
I believe. Trust me. I believe in you. I believe in you.
Adam, thank you so much for joining us. This was
Thank
an
you,
absolute
Adam.
delight.
It's my pleasure, guys.
We have a few people to thank, and we're going to wrap up and ask you our final question. But before that, why don't you tell folks where they can find you and what you do on the internet?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Adam Lance Garcia, at Instagram at Adam Lance Garcia, TikTok at Adam Lance Garcia. I really am not original with names. You can also, if you are interested in any of my writing, you can look at me, find me up on Amazon.com. Just type in Adam Lance Garcia. You'll see the Green Llama series, which is a series of novels I've written based on a Buddhist superhero that my dad used to collect. And I get to be the licensed author for that, and that's been really cool. Also, my graphic novel, Sons of Fire, which is sort of like Smallville by way of Stranger Things. And I also have a radio drama audio podcast that I'm working on right now called Radio Room with my co-producer, Steele Philippek. You can listen to the first season if you just type in Radio Room on any of your favorite podcast aggregators. And if you want to watch any of the videos that we talked about in this interview, check out Wired. There's a bunch of them on YouTube, or Vanity Fair. There's a few of them there. And I think a couple on Ars Technica. I don't know. There's a whole bunch. You can like search them. The ones that are really good that you like, I probably did them. The ones that you didn't like, I definitely didn't do them. That's a lie. There's so many there I didn't do. But yeah, I've done a lot. I'm busy. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm 35. I'm 35. No, I'm 38. I'm going to be 38. God damn.
Oh, my God. We're the same age. All right.
Oh, my
High
God.
five.
High five. Yeah, I'm old and I'm tired.
Mood. That's a mood. All right. Before our final question, Rachel, let's thank some folks.
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you, first and foremost, to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rimble.
Also, thank you to the incredible Katie Bug, who designed our incredible show art. We love it, and we love you.
Yeah, thanks to the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for yet another fortnight in your ranks. Go check out all the Certain Point of View Podcast Network shows. We have so many of them. We're growing. It's like I turn around and there's a new one. It's like a Catholic family.
Yeah. Go check out, go to certainpov.com. You can find all of those shows. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server. I will highly recommend going to check out Men of Steel. For sure, by the time this airs, Adam Lance Garcia's episode on Men of Steel has aired. They talked about Superman 3, I believe.
Yeah, that was a movie.
It was an actual movie that happened. This is a fact. But also, you can check out a ton of other podcasts. We have a bunch of comics podcasts, including Panelology and Comics Quest, which just joined the network, featuring former guest J.D. Martin, who is a delight. We have a bunch of video game podcasts. We have all sorts of stuff. And also, if you have a chance, write us a review on your favorite podcast platform of choice. You can also reach us at @screen_snark on Twitter, or you can send us an email at screensnarkpod@gmail.com.
Whew, did it.
We did
yeah. Whew. Let's grab our towels and dab our brows, because, woo, that's a lot. So the time has come to ask the question that has been on everyone's mind since we began. Adam, if you could select any one storytelling trope from movies or television to instantly and magically become true in your life, to become canon, as it were, which one would you choose?
Oh, like if I could fly or something? A trope. Oh, boy.
Like a trope, like when you're sad, it rains because you're the main character. It's a trope, like the shorthands.
I kind of wish life was musical. Not that I can sing at all, but I would love to see how the world would operate if everyone just sort of sang their emotions and instead of fighting things out. That would be hilarious.
Oh my gosh!
So yeah,
just anytime you're just super heightened, like your
Yeah.
emotions build to a point where you're just like, I have to. Why won't you do the dishes when I ask
exactly.
you to?
Like just the most mundane
Yeah.
things. Like just like I cleaned this room by myself. You know, like just things like that. Again,
Oh,
I
but
have no rhythm, no
we
singing
have
voice.
to do the Howard Ashman rules, though. Like, music can only happen when the stakes are high enough to warrant it, and then once you get past that, that's when you dance.
Excellent. I love this world we're building together. This
I want to
delightful.
live in this one. Take me there.
Oh, delightful. Well, thank you again, Adam, for joining us. This
My
was so
pleasure.
much fun. I also want to thank my incredible, charming, vivacious, effervescent co-host, Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I want to thank my indescribable co-host, Matt aka Stormageddon. I can't.
love that.
Just keep
It's
building. I can't.
Just
He's indescribable.
and I'll take it. I'm definitely hard to
There's
describe.
Something else, you know?
And we'd like to thank you, listeners, for continuing to
Thank
listen.
you.
We will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Aurora, 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 Aurora. Metal to magnet, she will be mine. Aurora.
So, I have a question. Have you ever wanted to get into comics, but you just didn't know where to start? Well, welcome to Comics Quest. I'm JD Martin, and every week I sit down with a guest to talk a comic that I think anybody can pick up and start their comics reading journey. We take a look at psychedelic sci-fi, fantastical action, heart-wrenching love stories, and of course, superheroes. So check us out at certainpov.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.